All right, let's do this. 1.4.8 brings a lot to the table, changes a lot of things without adding a whole lot of content, but they're very, very much needed changes. This is the update that Hunt Showdown has needed for a while, and I really, truly believe this is going to breathe new life into the game, and I cannot wait to get back into it. And the first thing they list under the update log is the additional looting options. So we're getting envelopes, which I kind of thought they looked more like posters when I was playing this on test server, but the developers are calling them envelopes that will contain either 1000 Hunter XP, 500 Bloodline XP, or 3 to 6 upgrade points. These are pretty rare. I'd say there's a couple per map, at least from my limited experience playing it in test server. Spawn rates may have changed a little bit in the live update, but these aren't really farmable. They're just really nice to find, especially if you're running a new Prestige or a new Hunter in general. So any of these are nice to find. They do have different textures depending on what the envelope's going to give you, and it'll tell you before you interact with it what you're going to get. There's also small loot bags that can contain anywhere from $1 to $25 hunt dollars or 1 to 3 blood bonds. These are very common. I've found 3 to 5 in each compound I visit consistently. If you're low on funds or you need just a few more blood bonds, it's nice to be able to run through a few compounds and loot these small loot bags. Not a huge thing, but this does this really brings out the loot whore in me, because I love looting in most games. This game doesn't have a ton of looting options, but I like that with this update they're moving to more of a, give you more incentive to stay, give you incentive to explore the map, and give you more loot to find. There's also trait charms. These were probably about the same rarity as the envelopes on test server. First of all, they can spawn randomly in a compound. It'll have a random trait, kind of similar to how you got random traits in quick play for picking up clues, but this way they're kind of hidden around the map. You can see what the trait is before you pick it up, so you can choose whether or not you actually want to add the trait to your hunter. The other cool thing about these trait charms is when you kill a meathead, they have a chance of dropping one. So you have a lot more incentive to farm meatheads instead of just for the XP now, which is going to be very helpful on fresh prestiges and fresh hunters as well. They also added some very rare items that I've still not found any of, but they added a blueprint, which will unlock the next available item unlock for the currently equipped item. This works for guns, this works for tools, this works for consumables. If you're trying to unlock something and you find a blueprint, you pick it up with that item equipped and boom, you got your next unlock. This is going to be a really nice bonus when you find it, assuming you have a weapon that you want to unlock the next variant of, or a tool or consumable or whatever the case may be. But it's not going to happen that often. The other very rare item they added is gun oil, which will clean your equipped weapon. Now this works just like paying blood bonds to clean your weapon in the lobby, but obviously this doesn't cost anything. The downside is you can only use it on whatever weapons you have equipped. This is just for cosmetic purposes, but if you pick up a dirty dolch off of somebody else and you find some gun oil, you can clean that thing up and make it look brand new before you take it back to extract and have it in your inventory as a contraband, but clean dolch. Reading through the developer notes here, I'll put it on screen so you can pause and read through it if you want, but to sum it up, these new ways of leveling your hunters will mostly benefit new and low rank / newly prestige players, as many of the traits will not be available to purchase at that early age. This is encouraging more people to prestige more often, and it's also going to help new players learn some of the later tier traits early on in the game. So I think this is both going to help people who play a lot and want to prestige faster, and also help new players who don't necessarily have the best luck with beginner traits and weapons and whatnot. You kind of have to roll the dice because it's RNG for the most part, but it is nice to find something when you have nothing. And that brings us to watchtowers. They're making a few map changes to both existing maps right now. We're getting one new watchtower in the Lawson Delta map, and we're getting 2 in the Stillwater Bayou map. These are pretty much all wooden buildings, so they're not going to provide great cover, but they will give you a little bit of loot and provide you a good vantage point of the nearby compounds. The existing hunting towers in the game have received an upgrade. They all will have some type of loot, whether health, ammo, a random weapon. Something will always spawn in the top of one of these hunting towers, so there's more incentive to go up into these towers that, in my experience, generally didn't have much of a place in the game because you were just a sitting duck and kind of got trapped in them if you were ever sitting in a tower trying to snipe or anything, and it very rarely went well for me. Maybe that's just me, but I will definitely be visiting the towers more often now that I know there'll be some type of loot in the top. And that is all on the towers. We're getting some new weapon variants as well as some new legendary weapons. The first new variant is going to be the Winfield M1873 musket bayonet. This actually has 2 more rounds than the regular Winfield M1873, and it's going to have obviously a bayonet on the end of it, which is nice because the Winfield currently doesn't have a bayonet variant besides the Vandal Striker. The drawback to using this gun is levering shoots at a slightly reduced rate of fire than other M1873 rifles, but besides that, this is a very solid gun. I've used it a lot in test server. I plan on using it a lot, especially early on in my prestiges going forward, because it is a fantastic Winfield variant. The second gun they added is the Officer Carbine Deadeye. And you might think it's a terrible, terrible idea to add a scope to one of the most widely considered broken weapons in the game. But it's actually not that bad. I've used this a lot in test, but it's also been balanced along with the regular Officer Carbine. There is reduced shoulder aim accuracy due to the mounted scope, and recoil is harder to control in ADS due to increased zoom. And we'll get to the changes that have been applied to the regular Officer Carbine here in a minute, but let's talk about the new legendary weapons real quick. So we've got a legendary Winfield M1873C silencer, or the Silent Winnie as a lot of people will call it, and it just looks gorgeous. It's not super flashy. It doesn't have any crazy engravings, but it has a lot of character, and I love this. I love what they've done with the can-shaped silencer at the end. It looks very homemade. I love the Winnie silencer, so I will definitely be buying and running this a lot. The second legendary weapon we've got is the Death Letter, which is a officer brawler. And this gun has a lot of engraving on it. There's a lot of phrases and words etched into it that appear to be kind of a tease and a nod towards the new boss that we're getting next year. Looks great. I'm definitely going to be picking this one up, especially if you like running a knife and still having something to deal with immolators. And last but not least, we have a legendary Sparks LRR silencer. This is not one that I see myself using a lot, but I know a lot of people love the Sparks and run the Sparks silencer from time to time, so Nothing crazy fancy about it. It has some nice engravings, but very minimal. Still looks loads better than the default Sparks. I think it's a great addition to the game. We're also getting a new DLC, the Ronin DLC. It's going to have 2 legendary weapons and a legendary hunter. We're getting a knife, which looks fantastic. We're also getting a legendary Springfield 1866, which is not a weapon I use a lot, but I will say this one does look nice. If I find myself using the Springfield 1866 in the near future, this is the one I will be running. And then, of course, we have our new legendary hunter, who just looks amazing. And yeah, that's pretty much all we've got for the DLC. As far as general updates go, we've got a buff to the Concertina bomb. The explosion delay decreased to 0.5 seconds from previously 1.5 seconds, which is big. I think this is going to make the Concertina bomb as applicable as most explosives, albeit with a little bit shorter range, but it's going to make this a lot more useful. There's also slightly changed attack angles of a lot of the melee weapons, the hatchet and talon attachments, the heavy knife, and the machete have all been tweaked where they're more reliable and feel less clunky, because I've definitely noticed with the talon and the heavy knife that they seem to miss a lot when I feel like they should have hit. Could have been server lag, could have been lag just on my end, but I've definitely felt the clunkiness in these weapons before, so I'm glad they've tweaked the attack angle and the animations a little bit to where they feel more fluid and more reliable, so that is awesome. Getting into the regular Officer Carbine nerf, which we can all agree, I think, that it needed a nerf. And the way they nerfed it is they increased the recoil a little bit. Which is good. You can't just spam body shots and get kills with it anymore. At least not as easily. So that is nice. Antidote shots also got a nerf. Antidote shots no longer reduce the damage taken from poison-based attacks, like the spider bounce, the stings from the hive swarms, etc. Poison cloud damage remains unchanged and will reduce damage by 100%. So, antidote shots aren't nearly as useful as they once were. Honestly, they were kind of broken. I never started around without an antidote shot, at least a weak one. Now, I feel like they're not a necessary item anymore. Like, the stings from the hive swarms is the thing that just really made it worth getting now. I think I will probably trade this out for a hive bomb maybe now, and then I'll most likely bring a silent weapon, throwing knives, or something similar to deal with hives at range now instead of just running up and knifing them like I have in the past. So I'm okay with this nerf. Antidote shots were not overpowered, but they became too necessary, at least to me, and I think that's probably how a lot of people felt, and it also made hive bombs basically useless, so I like this change. They've reworked the ghoul trait. New description reads, killing grunts at close range restores a small amount of health. The radius was very, very small. It's now been tweaked to 25 meters, which lines up with the Necromancer and Serpent trait distances. Health will be granted only if you instigate the damage. You do not have to land the killing blow to benefit from the health gain. Restores 5 HP per kill. Price increase to 7 points. So this trait's a little bit more expensive now, but I'm going to say it's a lot more useful. And the reason I say that is because even though killing a grunt only restores 5 HP, if you're missing a bar and you don't have a health kit, or don't want to use your health kit, or you don't have a first aid kit nearby to use, all you have to do is go kill a grunt and you get 5 HP back, which obviously won't fill up your bar, but it'll give you enough that your bar will begin to fill back up to the full bar. I don't see this being very useful in PvP, but I do see where it would have some really nice benefits outside of PvP, where you lose a bar because of something stupid and you don't want to use your health kit and you can't find a first aid kit. We have a developer note here. I'm not going to read through it in the video, but feel free to pause and read through if you would like. Interaction outlines have been changed. And by changed, I mean you have the option to turn them off now. You don't have to look at the glowing red and white outlines around doors and windows and whatnot that you had before. You can even turn off the outlines around your teammates to make it more of a realistic experience if you don't like seeing the outlines of your teammates for some reason. There's going to be 3 different options. The first one being all, which is what we've been used to. This is with everything outlined as frequently as it is right now. None, which turns off all outlines for interactable objects and partner outlines. And then you have a mixed option, which excludes door and window outlines, but leaves the rest of the outlines in the game around objects. So I think this is a great change. I doubt I'll turn everything off. I will probably use the mixed, but it is nice that they've given us the option to turn them off altogether. Bounty hunt changes. Banishing a boss. Initiating the banishing process will now restore all lost health chunks, as well as replenishing all your health, which is nice because for the longest time after I started playing the game, I knew that banishing the boss refilled your health, but I was so confused as to how much it refills. I was like, does it give you a bar? Does it give you full health? Obviously it doesn't give you full health because I didn't get full health this time. How much did it give me? I don't know. I was confused. My partners were confused. We never really knew how much health we were going to get back. So I'm glad that they just took that whole confusing aspect out of it and you get all your health bars back now. This is awesome. I'm a big fan of this update. Dark Sight boost. Investigating a clue while carrying a bounty token will now restore 1 second of Dark Sight boost, similar to how you can loot a dead hunter with a bounty and get a second of Dark Sight boost back. And they've noted on here, we hope this will encourage hunters to be more inclined to run the gauntlet if there is a second target. I think this is great because I've gotten to the point to where somebody grabs the bounty and immediately beelines to an extract point when there's a second bounty on the map, especially if I'm wanting to run the gauntlet, which is most of the time anymore. So I think this is a small incentive. I honestly wish there was more of an incentive to run the gauntlet, but I also think now that they've added more loot options around the map, between these 2 changes, more people will be encouraged to go for both bounties, and I am stoked about that because I always want to go for 2 bounties and I always want to fight the people who want to go for 2 bounties. So good change, 2 thumbs up from me. They've also made some changes to extraction points. They've changed it to where all extraction points will now spawn at least 500 meters away from each other, which is amazing because now we won't have 3 extraction points on 1 compound. You won't have to run completely across the map. Like, this is a good change. This isn't going to break it. This is just going to space extraction points out a little bit better. They could still all spawn on the same side of the map pretty much, but they're not all going to be right next to 1 compound. Extract campers are not going to be able to camp all or both extracts now in 1 spot, which is great. They made some changes to how the leaderboard works. Players will be shown on the leaderboard only if they meet all these conditions. Log in within the last 30 days, have at least 100 kills in quick play or 100 kills or assists in bounty hunt, didn't opt out from showing their stats publicly, not banned, and played at least 50 hours. So to be on the leaderboard, you have to be an active player. They've changed the rank requirements on some unlocks. The Dusters, which were previously unlocked at rank 20, now are available at rank 1, so you always have dusters or knife to choose from now. Spyglass is also now available at rank 1, which was previously rank 24. Machete is now rank 24, so this is actually moving up because it was previously rank 12. Everything else is moving down, but the machete is going up, so you got to hit rank 24 to unlock the machete now. The officer is now available at rank 12, previously rank 36, and the Winfield M1873 is now available at rank 20, and it was previously rank 42, which is awesome because, let's be honest, rank 42 is way too high for a Winnie unlock. And especially with them adding the new variant of this gun, it's nice that we're going to be able to start working towards it at an earlier level. We have a note here saying that in preparation for update 1.5, we're moving around some items so that we can evenly distribute the unlocks before adding the new unique Winfield M1876 and M1887 that were teased in our most recent blog post. So we've got more guns coming, and they're basically moving stuff around so they can release them in the order they want to release them in. I am okay with this. Faster progression XP. This is big. Overspill for equipment unlocks. Love it. XP earned during a mission with any piece of equipment will now overspill into the next unlock within that equipment family. I know that's a little wordy, but basically what that means is you're trying to unlock the officer carbine, right? You just got your officer. So you just have the best game of your life and you get so much XP, enough XP to go all the way to the officer carbine. Now previously, no matter how much XP you needed left, if you needed 1 XP point to get to the officer brawler, no matter how much XP you earned in that game, you were only getting 1 XP point. It would unlock when you went back to lobby, and then you had to grind out that entire XP bar to get to the next variant. Now, you can go from the very first version of the weapon to the very last version of the weapon if you get enough XP. Price updates. The officer carbine is now $155. The officer carbine Deadeye is going to be $211. The Winfield musket bayonet, $137. The legendary silent Winnie is going to be 200 blood bonds. The legendary officer brawler is going to be 200 blood bonds. And the legendary Sparks LRR silencer is going to be 400 blood bonds. They've added new possible name variations for recruited hunters. Then we have some miscellaneous updates, some AI fixes, some bug fixes. I'll link the detailed patch notes down below. It is a big quality of life update. This is going to add a whole new aspect to the looting in this game. It's going to balance the PvP, and it's just going to give us more to do. It's really nice to see these new items in the compounds give us something just a little different to look at and change the way we play the game, if even just a little bit. And I know that a lot of what is being implemented in this update is in preparation for 1.5, which we are supposedly going to be getting at the beginning of the year. Super excited to see the new map, the new boss, the new guns, and whatever else they decide to add between now and then. But for now, that is all I've got for this video. Let me know down below what you like about this update, what you don't like about it, what you would change if it was up to you, and I will see you next time. Peace.